never left the house. I got a call from a brand with a big idea. No trophies, no plaques, we want something they'll feel. Every name on the payroll, every face in the room, a portrait they could keep long after the boom.
135 for the crew in the standard frame, 30 Hollywood glam with the title in the name.
5x7 print ready, all dialed in, and 10 short days till the show begins.
Most folks would pack a van and head out on the road,
but Adam had another way to handle the load.
no ballroom scramble, no hauling a booth,
Just a laptop, Wi-Fi, and a system that's smooth. He made $2,500, never left the house.
logged into Pictor.pro,
Built a booth
without a doubt.
one prompt, one platform, 16 5 in a row.
Every single branded caricature
Flowing
from the
virtual booth flow.
If you're dreaming up a play you can run from home,
There's a path like this.
waiting at Pictor.pro.
First they locked the colors, logo, typeface too.
So every single portrait screamed,
Yeah, that's you.
photos in on one side, art out on the other, every file on brand.
They all look related to each other.
Standard portraits for the team, clean and tight. Glam editions for the winners in that Hollywood light. Name at the bottom, award line in gold. A keepsake they'll remember long after they're old.
No fighting with a printer in a hotel hall.
No last minute panic in a crowded car.
Just a repeatable workflow, calm and clear.
Turned a tricky little brief into a product did offer this year.
He made 2,500 plus, never left the house.
Just a dot pro on the screen,
That's how it all
shook out.
One prompt, one platform, 16 5 on the go.
From Maryland to anywhere the internet can go.
If you want a new revenue stream that doesn't need a roadshow,
Spin up your own virtual booth at Pictor.pro.
and there's 2 ways to run it when you know the tool.
Fully remote from your desk, that's the stay home rule.
Or throw a QR on the screen at the live event.
Let the guests scan in and see where their photo went.
Same booth, same backbone,
Just a different show, that's the kind of flexibility operators love to know.
client walked in with a vision that was crystal clear.
Make them feel appreciated for being here.
From Frederick to the stage, they built that brand. Every portrait like a handshake, an illustrated land.
Deadline hit and the files were all in place.
Print ready, spec perfect.
No paper chase. Employees saw themselves up there in style.
And the client got a story they'll reuse for a while. That's not just one
Cool project, that's a sales tool made.
proof of concept play. You can roll into your next pitch deck parade. Awards, recognition, any corporate show.
This is one more arrow in your Pictor-powered bow.
He made 2,500 plus, never left the house.
Thanks to Pictor.pro, he could chill on the couch.
One prompt,
One platform, and a tight 10-day window. So ship about 116.5 portraits,
ready for the printer to go.
if you're looking for a sign to try a smarter workflow. Take a note from Adam's play
And head to Pictor.pro.
116.5 portraits,
10 days, one flow, 0 miles traveled with Pictor.pro.
If you want, I can now tighten this into a shorter too.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you everyone for joining us. We have a nice full room today. Hey Rick, hey Sean, hey Manuela. Great to see everyone. We got some folks from the OutSnapped team as well. Richard, please be careful while you're driving. We're going to record this and get it to you later too. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. We have Adam, who's here today. Very excited to chat with him about a recent event that he did and some other cool out-of-the-box stuff he showed me just as we were waiting to get on this call. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to ask folks to turn off their cameras today. So when we have the replay of this, it's just Adam and I for now. And then when we go into question and answer at the end, I'd love for everyone to turn their cameras and mics on and get interactive with us. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off your cameras. Please don't be offended, or you can turn them off yourselves. And then Adam, you should keep your camera on. We want you here. And then Sean, I'm going to turn your camera off, no offense, and we'll have you back in a moment. Great. And I apparently turned my own camera off. Hi, everyone. So let's get started. I'm so excited today. We have Adam from Premiere Pics MD in the house with us. And can everyone see the slide screen that I have up? Well, I guess I can't hear you. So Adam, if you can see it, I'm assuming everyone else can see it.
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Great. I'm like, I just silenced everyone and then I immediately ask a question. Cool. So let's jump in. I'm going to pop through some slides here. Y'all obviously know why we're here because you agreed, you accepted the RSVP, but Adam had a really cool event recently and he never left the house to do it. And I think that that's really cool. And I think at OutSnapped, our photo booth company, we're starting to do a lot of things similar to that as well. So today we're going to cover a few things. We're going to meet Adam and hear about his business. We're going to hear about his project. We're going to hear about building the AI prompt. You're all here to hear about the money, I'm sure. And then also the playbooks used to sort of put this all together. So some of the numbers that we're going to start with is Adam can share the exact figure if he feels comfortable with, but 2,500 plus, whoops, 2,500 plus revenue, 165 outputs, 0 miles traveled, and I believe you had 10 days from start to finish. Is that correct? Cool.
Yeah, it was rough. Had a couple extra days tacked on. They added a couple of new employees. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. So Adam, tell us about yourself. How long have you been operating? How many booths do you have? And is most of your work currently in person?
Yes. So this is our third year going into business. Total booths now we have 5. A little bit of everything kind of floating around, starting to find our niche. Stumbled across it by chance at IAAPA conference for a completely unrelated thing, just looking for something else to dip my feet into to get another revenue stream going. Bought some photo booths and it's slowly spiraled into what it is now. So
Gotcha. And how long ago was that?
So IAAPA was 4 years ago. The first year we had the booths, I pretty much didn't do anything. I didn't know what to do at all. I think I did one event at a friend's house and that was it. I had no clue. I didn't have time. So they basically sat there as money spent for about a year. So,
Gotcha. And for those folks who don't know what IAAPA is, do you want to let them know?
So IAAPA is the largest, basically amusement and kind of entertainment convention that the United States holds. They hold a European one, they hold a US one. And I mean, it has everything, roller coasters, food stands, inflatable houses. I mean, you name it, it's got it. It's basically like a giant playground.
Yeah, like this is, for those of you who've been to PBX, that is a conference for photo booths. This is a conference for amusement parks. And Adam's not joking. They have roller coasters there. You know, the people who are selling to amusement parks are the people showcasing them. And so what was your line of work prior to this if you were at IAAPA?
So we were down for agritourism. So, if you go to your local farm, a pumpkin patch, apple picking, it's a massive business. A friend of ours locally owned a very successful pumpkin patch. We had a product called the condiment cow that we were selling and marketing down there. So we were down there for that initially. And then, when we had some time to wander around and be overwhelmed, that's what we did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Forgive me for diving into this further. I know we're here for photo booth. Condiment cow. I'm imagining you're milking this thing and you're getting mustard and ketchup versus
Exactly.
Okay.
So that was our first product experience, really, like full development and it's with a plastic manufacturer. We have a metal manufacturer that makes the brackets. So it was kind of our first stumble through a process to figure out if there was a market for it or not. My friend who did agritourism, he's kind of taken over that aspect as my booth business has grown. So he handles that and runs that and sells it to other farms. So.
Amazing. I'm dying to know, was there a market for the condiment cow?
So he's still selling. Has the condiment cow and the condiment sow now. So it sells to a lot of farms, ice cream places, because you can put different toppings for ice cream in it,
Uh-huh.
things like that. I forget. He's got a map up on the website of how many countries he's in and everything. It's pretty crazy. So
Amazing. I
yeah,
love it. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
And so at that point, and I guess I have so many questions that are not on this slide deck that we'll get into, I'm sure. But like,
Yeah.
have you used that manufacturing knowledge continually in the photo booth business?
Yeah, to an extent. So working right now on a scribble booth or a message booth, really not a keyword for it necessarily
Yeah.
yet. But I wasn't a huge fan of what I've seen so far, so I thought, well, we'll just build my own. So starting with a wood mock-up, and then I'll take it to somebody to see if we can do an actual metal frame or aluminum, what will be the
Yeah.
options there. So I'm gonna kind of follow those steps
Yep.
to
Yep.
see what I can come up with there.
Yeah, our offices are in the Brooklyn Navy Yard and we're surrounded by fabricators and it's like it's absolutely amazing. Like they one day there's like a giant fake car in the hallway. The next day they're literally making beds for a set. It's no shortage of amazing things happening. But there are
Yes.
people who can literally make anything with any material. It's so fascinating.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy the things you see when you get behind the scenes looking.
Totally,
So,
totally. So
yep.
just to quickly recap, how many years ago was that IAAPA?
IAAPA, I want to say was 4, I think. I think roughly 4 when we went.
Okay,
It was because IAAPA's in November, so it was at the end of one of the years. And
gotcha.
then bought them, sat on them. Then we're like, okay, we need to figure something out here.
Okay, and so what year did like your photo booth company really start?
2023 would have been the first year that like we were trying something, I believe, 23
Sure.
into 24 kind of.
Gotcha.
Um, and 24 was the first year really that my wife got involved. We started really being like saying, hey, we need to operate this as a business and not a hobby
Yeah,
and start learning from some people that know what's going on. You know what I
gotcha.
mean? So
I always like to ask this because it's like I think I'm one of the few people who's obsessed with photo booths as as a child,
yeah.
but I didn't ever think I'd end up in the photo booth industry, right? And I don't know anyone else who's like, oh, all I ever wanted to do when I was a kid was own a photo booth company. So like, how did you get from like you're on the trade show floor looking, selling condiment cow, you see a photo booth, which company was it? And like, why were you like, okay, this is the thing that I want to buy?
Right. So it was Photomaster.
Okay.
Um, and I was just walking around and initially, I'll be honest, I went down, I thought I'm gonna buy inflatables, right? I'll rent slides out.
Yeah.
And then when you see the sheer size of them in person, I thought,
Even
where
rolled
the hell
up.
am I gonna where am I gonna put this at?
Yeah.
So started walking. We had a couple friends that were in the wedding planning industry. So I saw them. I just thought, man, this is a great concept. It's portable, right? Like doesn't take up a lot of storage space. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, what's the background on these? And she was like, well, they're pretty much at every wedding we've got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, where we live in Frederick, Maryland, there are venues everywhere. So I'm like, I guess we'll try this. And they were running floor specials. And we
Yeah.
actually bought 2 of the floor models right off the floor. Because we obviously drove our product down. And
Yeah.
so we drove those 2 back. So
Amazing. Amazing.
I bought a
I'm always
mirror. So that was not the greatest choice. So
yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of side hustle culture in the photo booth industry. And I think probably IAPA is less likely to pick up side hustle folks because if you're there looking at roller coasters, you probably know how to like do an ROI and a profit loss sheet. But um, there's a lot of culture around like you can make $1 million with this thing. And I think you and I and a handful of the folks on this call are proof that you can in fact do it, but it's not going to do it itself. And that's what we're going to get into today is sort of how do you connect the different dots to start being a profitable business, right? And it's not just the hardware. I do always like to ask, what's your favorite physical booth now? You stuck with Photomaster or?
No, I really, really like our Prelude from Danny Max, like the wood
Okay.
one that has
Yeah.
the tripod leg.
Yep.
It's just it's stable, it's sturdy, it looks really nice in almost any venue. We have the back screen door on it, so we show slideshow at the same time. Like all my attendants like it. So, it's just been a great booth. We're considering adding a second one. So,
Amazing. Cool. Sounds good. Let's hop into the next slide. So how did your client find you? I think that's something that we all struggle with. And what did they actually ask for? And how different was that from what they actually ended up walking away with?
right. So, we had done some of the caricature stuff for weddings. So, more wedding focused. She reached out through LinkedIn and said, we have this event coming up. We really like the caricatures, but how can we apply that to our brand? Right? They
Right.
don't want the hearts around it and the
Yeah.
little lip kisses and stuff. So I just did a couple quick mock-ups with their colors, pulled their colors from their logo and stuff, and threw a real rough iteration of an adjusted prompt together. And she loved it. And she was like, that would be great. Can we, get a little more involved with the branding, just make everything more emphatic to their brand. And so once we got to that discussion, I knew, hey, they were going to move forward, and now we can start refining what they're looking for. So, and that ended up being a standard one for all employees. And then the only one that was a little different was a Hollywood glam look for the award winners.
Gotcha.
Yep. So that's where we ended at. So
You touched on a few things there. So I'm going to kind of pull back. One is weddings. You mentioned AI for weddings, and that was always sort of an interesting gamble for me. Like, as someone who's been to a lot of weddings, worked at a lot of weddings, never had my own wedding, but I'm planning one at the moment. And, you think about different types of events and how you want to record memories, right? And I think that with very few exceptions, the photo booth at a wedding serves to kind of record people how they are on that actual day to preserve the memory, right? And I think that the caricatures is a really good example of something you can do AI based. We're also using it just for blemish removal, for great black and white, crisp images, making something look more nostalgic, where it doesn't actually look like AI. But what are you doing for, or like at this point, what percentage of your business is like corporate versus wedding private events?
I would say in terms of event quantity it's probably 70% weddings still or private events like that, and then 30% corporate right now. Over the summer, that pendulum will swing, a lot less weddings in this region, more corporate events. But the weddings locally love an AI if it's not too out of touch, right? So the caricatures give them that feel, watercolor gives them that feel, maybe a sketch look or something. So something minimal they really, really like, but obviously in conjunction with a regular photo experience.
Yeah, gotcha. And then so with that, out of your private events, so your 70% of events, what percentage of those would you say are going AI now?
Right now,
it's going to be different in all of our markets.
Right now, I would say my inquiries on the private side would probably be 40%. Corporate, almost every inquiry that comes in, they at least talk about it and how can they integrate it.
100%. We're seeing very similar here in New York. And I think you had mentioned 70% private event, 30% corporate. I always like to ask people, in terms of your bottom line for your business, are the numbers almost flop though? Like, even though you're doing quantity of weddings, is the quality of your intake on revenue higher for the corporate?
It will probably, the way it's shaping this calendar year, probably be 50-50, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah, which is great. So
there's something that Chris from Boothbook, Chris Collins, if you guys don't know him, great guy. Boothbook is a product we love. He said to me, and he also says this, and almost every time I hear him speak, if you raise your prices significantly and you retain at least 51% of your clients, you are making more money and doing less work. And that's something that I always think about. It's like, we love doing a wedding, but we treat a wedding like it's a corporate event, right? And so with that, we have corporate rates. And for us, that's just how it's made sense to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then last question about this is, we've talked about weddings, we've talked about corporate events. What in the initial ask made this different than a typical inquiry you would get?
So the biggest difference was they wanted it all done remotely.
Cool.
You know,
Hold that thought and
okay,
let's dive into that. But that's something that I
okay,
want everyone to hear and start thinking about. So we think of photo booths as a physical device that you stand in front of and interact with. The irony is that, as someone who grew up loving photo booths, these things are so far from an even what a photo booth is, right? And one of the things that we always find interesting in terms of search terms, right? People are searching the word photo booth, but then they want something that's a 360-degree video. Like, it's all these things fall into that different term. And something that we at Pictor have really seen happening are photo experiences on consumers' event guests' own devices, right? And no longer on a physical photo booth. You can still print, you can still email, text message, do all of these different things, but without necessarily having the photo booth on site. And we're even doing a lot of things like Adam for this one didn't ever have to leave his house. We're doing some very large engagements that are multi-week for a lot of money and literally never leaving the house, right? It's happening on social media via QR code, et cetera. So cool.
yep.
So before we go much further, let's actually show what Adam created. These are the awesome outputs that Adam created. And I believe you had two different categories that were asked for. You had the standard. So this was an awards dinner for everyone who attended, right?
Yes. Yep. It was for all employees, whether they won an award or not.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And so those folks who did not win an award got the image on the left. Is that correct?
Yep. And they sent me a spreadsheet. So it had how they wanted the name spelled, or if they had a nickname, use that nickname. So
Great. And on the right, this was a select few that had won an award and they were going to get this, right?
correct.
Cool.
Yeah. So they wanted a Hollywood glam. The client also specified the font she wanted on the bottom. So obviously I made sure to send a proof prior to running all these to make sure she was happy with,
Sure.
especially the font look. So
Yep. Excellent. And on that note, I remember when we were working together, there was something they had chosen a font that was like kind of a, for lack of a better term, not highly professional font, and we ran into some issues with it, right?
right. Yeah, just getting it to show up or position the right way that you want it on everyone, because you're not going to have the person positioned in the exact same spot. You don't want it to be. You want, each output to be unique for the person. So had to do a little adjusting and a little tweaking with layering and to make it bold enough to read. You want to be able to read it.
Yep. And one thing that I see that you did here is a trick that I love. You actually took that sprite, the customizable text from a survey, and you used the, we call it a token in programmatic language, but it's confusing because we talk about tokens for spending on AI, but the sprite or the same content that you answered, and you doubled it up to give that shadow I'm seeing here too.
Yes. Yep. It just gave a little more depth, created more separation from the actual image.
Yep.
So it's much easier to read.
Cool.
Yep.
So given everything that this project required, why Pictor? What made it the right tool for this event?
So a couple things. First of all, being all remote, I wanted something that I could run it all the way through from start to finish, and the output, I was done, right? So Pictor's virtual booth allows you to do that. You can upload a photo. You don't have to be capturing a photo. It can run the AI processing and directly answer a survey question, which we were able to input the name. And then also your output had the name, had the AI processed, everything, it was done.
Gotcha.
So it kind of ticked everything. The other thing with Pictor is I really like the AI engine and the way the output comes. It's easy to work with. I like the way the renderings look a lot, represent people a lot. It's very matches their natural features very well.
Yeah, we have really struggled and put a lot of time and energy towards making sure that likeness is as close to possible.
Yes.
Is it perfect? No. Can it be perfect? Someday, probably a little bit closer. it's a really interesting paradigm. But so the first project that we built this for was actually for a very large bank, and they were in making internal AI visuals, having a lot of trouble representing people who weren't just upper class white men, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So we really worked to tune our initial model so that people of all different shapes and sizes were represented properly for this bank. So that was our foray into this, and that was back in 2023.
Yes. Yep. And I would agree with that. It does very well with multi-ethnicity. So it doesn't matter the tone, the shape, it does very well. So
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. That's something we've worked very, very hard to do. I'm glad that it has not gone unnoticed. We talked about this a little bit. This for you, it actually wasn't a virtual event as we'd imagine it. You actually use this as an internal tool for yourself.
right, exactly. So we didn't give the client the link to have people running it. They had some time constraints they were working in, so they wanted it all done. So I essentially just ran the virtual booth on my own, uploading all these headshots and
Gotcha.
and get it done. So
So what you received from the client in this case was like a spreadsheet with names, file names, and a folder of files?
yeah, but she was very organized. So I would say
Okay.
anybody that does this, make sure the file they send you is organized, because I didn't have to really make sure anything stayed matched up. It was named, the file was named with the employee's name, run it through, you see their name on the picture, so you're
Yeah.
good. So
Cool.
yeah.
And just for other ways this could work. So this could work with our physical photo, but someone could walk right up, take a selfie and tap in their name, and that customization would happen. Or you could do the QR code pre-sharing where you would fill out your form, put in your name before you go up to the booth, take a selfie, and out comes your customized output. Or you could scan a QR code or click a link from your device, whether it be a desktop or phone, and run through this process yourself.
Right.
So for this particular use case, Adam interestingly used this as a tool for himself to create the outputs. So we've gone over this, but just to reiterate for folks, the main reason that the client wanted it done this way was because, and you can say in your own words, but I think it's about the surprise and delight of arriving at this event and receiving this image versus participating.
Right. They didn't, as far as I know, the employees had no idea that they were going to be getting anything, and this would be a part of it as well. So
Cool.
yeah.
On that note, and I may have included this question later, so we'll skip it if we do it again, but I was curious, and I know when we first talked about it, it didn't occur to me to ask, but did you print these yourself or did you send them out to a lab to get them printed?
I sent the final photos in a 5x7. That's what they wanted. And then she was going to have them printed locally where she was at.
So you didn't even print them yourself. Gotcha.
Nope. Nope. Which I prefer. Just if there was a quality issue that she was concerned with, it would have been very difficult to address.
Right,
So.
of course. Yeah, and as I was thinking through the process, we all know what it costs to run a DNP, 30-ish cents a pop, but you can go through a digital lab and get them significantly cheaper at 5x7s or pick them up at Walgreens, et cetera. So I was curious if, what's worth it. At the scale of under 200 photos, I don't know if the savings is enough to go through a different lab rather than just pop them out your studio.
Yep.
Cool. So as I mentioned, in this case, Adam did upload all the content himself, but it could have been served as a QR code at the activation. And so we talked about this as well. So we have the fully remote, which is what Adam did, as well as the live QR code activation. And just to talk through that again, I think we have a slide coming up. Yeah. And this is something that we at OutSnapped do pretty often, is at a banquet, which this was, as an activity that everyone can do together. The MC, I tell them to make a joke that let's like break the world record for the number of selfies taken in one moment. Everyone pulls out their cell phone, can scan this QR code and do this process right there at the table. So a photo booth doing something like this, even with the QR code pre-share, you're looking at like kind of best case scenario, 60 sessions per hour. With a QR code like this, you can do everybody in the audience at once. We've done 70,000 of these in like a 48-hour period. So it's like you can really ram people through. So if you have a high volume event, you have 500 people in a banquet and they don't want to splurge for 10 photo booths, this is one way for people to really participate very quickly and have the same outcome. This is just, another slide showcasing it. One of the call to actions we always like to include is scan this, and this is what you're going to get, right? You want to get people excited. When you're doing AI activations at private events or corporate events, are you typically involving a slideshow as well?
Yeah, we like having the slideshow on the rear facing of the booth at minimum. If they
Right.
don't have space, it's nice to have a display if they have space,
Yeah,
and because people can see what they're going to get, and
exactly.
then they become interested and participate.
Yeah, we see
So,
the same thing with AI. It sets expectations, it gets people excited, and it also gets them pulling out their phone to take a video of themselves in that space. So
yeah.
at a private event, it's less important, but when you're working at a trade show and people are pulling out their phones, recording a video of the activation in a branded space, and then sharing that on social, that gets our clients very excited. So on the AI side of things, you mentioned your process briefly for creating the prompt, but walk me through it. Sort of where did you make that initial pitch? Were you doing it in Pictor? Were you doing it in another tool? What was that sketch process? I call it sketching, even though we're using AI. What was that process like for you?
So originally, I had done some caricatures over the summer for a local event, Tech Frederick, and it was superhero caricatures. So I kind of had this basis already of the shape, right, and the proportions that I wanted. And then I needed to get it to the hand-drawn look. Well, luckily, I'm also a PBM member, which PBM has a caricature style, but I didn't want it to be the wedding. So I kind of pulled what they did with the marker drawing, added that into the prompt. Then, so I have my proportions now. Now I had the marker drawing. Now I needed to get the clothing correct. So she wanted like business casual. So just kind of ran that, got a baseline start, and then saw things that need to be adjusted. Sometimes I would put it back into Claude and say, hey, I'm not getting a consistent result on this. This is what I want it to look like. Bring it over until I finally got to where I wanted to be. Background was kind of one of the difficult aspects to get that E logo consistent, which is what was nice with Pictor. You can use multiple reference images and put them in the prompt and say rotate randomly between these background images. And that ended up being the best option. So you never knew which picture was going to get what background, but at least it was always brand consistent. And it didn't just leave it up to the roll of the dice with AI at that
You
point. So
touched on a few things there that I'm going to dig into a little bit more. For those people who may be new to the industry and don't know PBM, that's photo booth marketing. Shout out to Ursula, Sammy, George, and that team. And something that Adam mentioned is that they have a library of prompts that you can start with, right? And so I think for those of you who have played with prompting a bunch, you kind of inadvertently kind of end up losing your training wheels, right? You don't need them anymore and you kind of know where to start. But that library is growing, and I think it's a really great place to pull some of those prompts and play with them and see what the different prompts do and see how the different words have different effects, right? And one
yeah.
thing that I always like to remind people with these is creating a real sophisticated, reliable prompt. It's very easy to get to 90% very, very quickly. To get to 100% could take you hours. And that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means that it's sort of a butterfly effect, right? Changing one color may change the output of something in a way you don't expect. Or asking it to draw it in a marker may change something that you may not expect. So it's this riddle of you put in one thing and it may change a thing that you had solved. So now you have to find a synonym for that thing you want to do that doesn't affect the first thing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to be very honest about the expectations. How long would you say it took you to get from sort of concept, approved concept, to final reliable output that you felt comfortable repeating over and over again?
I would say probably total 5 to 6 hours. Like, and it at one like I got to, like you said, get to that 90%. Then I had to take a break, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, let's revisit this tomorrow. I'm just having a couple issues that just I need to sort out, and then went back to it and was able to get that last 10% to where it was coming out every time. So But yeah, you've got to take the time into consideration when somebody wants something custom. It can take a lot of time
Yeah.
to get a look that the client's looking for. It's not what you're looking for, it's what the client's looking for.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, it's not always the things that you would expect to take a lot of time. And the story that I always use to share this is that years ago we were doing something for a brand that had a release in San Francisco, a big event day. And they were like, could you change the color of the Golden Gate Bridge to be our brand colors? And I was on a sales call and I very stupidly just said, yes, that should be no problem. And it turned out to be a 40-hour problem because AI just kept saying, nope, the Golden Gate Bridge is red. And so what we ended up having to do eventually was describe in architectural detail without ever mentioning the architect or San Francisco, because that immediately tripped it up back into knowing what we were trying to do, to create the Golden Gate Bridge in a different color. And it was really a disaster. It was like literally 40 hours of time.
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
not what we had
so the
charged.
Hollywood Glam one, every time you would use Hollywood Glam as an attire description, it was very revealing on the females,
Right,
which is not corporate appropriate.
right.
So that had to get broken down into, formal gala style gowns with, extra coverage.
Yeah.
It had to get broken down more than just trying to use Hollywood Glam because it
And
wasn't appropriate.
that's what
So
I mean by literally just finding the synonym for the thing you want or a different way to describe it. And you had mentioned, working with Claude, which is an LLM for those of you who don't know, it's like OpenAI, ChatGPT. And that's a really good way to go in and say, hey, I need an out of the box way to say this because I keep hitting this problem, right? And they'll help you brainstorm and you can try back and forth. Cool.
yep.
And then lastly, you had touched on using multiple reference images. Can you dive into that a little bit more? And also, are there any other platforms that can do that for you?
I don't know of any other platforms that allow you to use multiple reference images. I know Snapic allows you to use one. So it does limit you. For on this one, I needed the brand color and the logo in the background. It just wasn't coming out consistent, and they wanted this sweeping look. So basically, I designed two different backgrounds that it would alternate with. You save those individual backgrounds as reference images, and you tell the prompt to randomly select one of these two reference images. And then it'll just pick which one it wants, and place it in the background.
Yeah, pretty
Which is
wild.
nice. It's just it can simplify things when you need it to.
Yep. And on that note, World Cup season's coming up. We're doing a ton of World Cup themed events, soccer themed events, nothing FIFA oriented, if anyone's listening. But on that, the reference images, we need to perhaps have a flag. We need to have a jersey. We need to have shorts. We need to have the cleats. And so you are not restricted to one reference image. You can have a reference image for each of those items. So that's something that we've built into Pictor as well. Neat. We already talked about this, but just to reiterate, everyone had a person's name on it. The guest, if they had done this themselves, would have been able to fill it out, similar to the collectible cards we all do. But in this case, you pulled from a spreadsheet. And something else that I think is really incredible about AI, and something that we're always bullish on AI because I'm a photographer. I love a DSLR. I love a real lens. I love real glass. I also am a practical person and I want to use the tool that's best for the opportunity, right? And so for us, the thing that I've loved about our AI product is it's allowed us to pull out, I call it our photo booth graveyard. We have iPads that are 10 years old with crummy cameras on them, and we're able to make incredible output, right? So can you tell us a little bit about some of the quality of the images you received and if that had any effect on the outputs?
So most of I would say 90% of the photos were pretty good quality headshots or a photo that was provided. And if anybody's ever used the virtual booth feature that Pictor has where you upload photos, you can crop in to pick, a specific spot that you want. The only issue I had was there were about 4 photos and they were very, very zoomed in on their face. So it was almost like there was no body.
Right.
And it kept making the head extremely small. Like it could not figure out how to proportion it. And that got to the point where I ended up messaging and I just said, hey, I need new photos of these four people. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So, but that was it. There were a couple that were blurry, came out fine.
Yeah.
You know, some that were pulled. It's better if you have more of the person than less, you know,
Yeah.
but really not a huge issue, just those four photos. So,
Yeah, and that's something that's really interesting. For those of you who were at PBX and used our booth, we had a DSLR set up on site that was overexposed and out of focus. And we showed the original photos that came out of it where you could barely see the people and the outputs that we were able to create with AI. And it's just mind-blowing what we're able to do.
yeah.
On that note, it's a forever debate about DSLRs versus iPads versus whatever it may be. So that's not what we're going to litigate today. But I will tell you, we've had times literally where we put a DSLR up there to make it look like we're taking a photo with a really big camera, and we shoot it off the iPad.
Yeah.
That's below it from the wrong angle.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's really wild what you're able to do now.
Mhm.
So we talked about this a little bit. We already have really talked about a lot of this, but the remote photo collection is something that you did beforehand, the custom prompt editor we dived into, and the print ready delivery. We have about 15 minutes left, so we're going to lightning round some of these, and I want to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A at the end as well. But how did you price this project? Like, how do you go from conceptualizing what you charge to go to an event versus something like this?
So for this one, I had basically base. Okay, what is it going to take me to come up with the prompt, right? And originally she wanted, I think, 100 caricatures. So I thought, this is my base. I'm going to charge 15 per caricature or something like that is what I came up with. And that was our base. So I knew my time was covered for developing the prompt and I would make money on the digitals being sent. And then it was easy for her if she wanted to add some, she knew it was going to be $15 per processing on whatever image she sent. So
that's a really interesting way. That surprises me that you said that. I didn't expect to hear that. And I think that's because from our feedback from so many folks, they really flinch at the fact that it costs 7 cents to make these outputs, right? And that's compute. That's the thing. When you hear about us using up all the water in the world, which is not entirely true, we're using up some of the water, but it does actually cost a lot of money to use that part of the internet, right? So,
yep.
Did she flinch at that $15 a piece, or was that?
No. And so when I price things like that, you have to get comfortable. It's not about how much it was. It's what the perceived value is to the client.
I'm
right.
with you.
So they're having this party. They're gonna spend $15 per an employee. You have to look. Have you ever worked for a company? You would expect them to at least spend $15 per employee on you at a party. So
the worst is when you say $15 and they go, "That's it," and you're like, $55.
Yeah. Yeah. So and being remote, I wanted to offer a per price because she gave the feeling that she wanted to add more.
Yeah.
So
And that's
I just thought it would
to
be
not have to rediscuss it each time.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Neat. If you don't mind my asking, and you are not forced to say this, what do you value your time at? Because I think that's something that people really forget to include in these conversations.
Yeah. So when I'm factoring my time into something, I do it at $50 an hour. Right. And it doesn't
raise.
I know it should be more, but I do that regardless of what I'm doing. So if I'm just doing, I don't break it down for, if I'm doing admin stuff, it should only be 20. If I'm doing AI prompting, it should be 150. Right. I'm saying that's what I'd say it is my cost.
Right.
And then, to a client, typically if I'm going to do an AI prompt, I'm thinking $150 an hour to the client if we're writing a prompt out here, because it's a lot of work.
Just while we're here, I would love to hear, just throw in the chat what you value your time at, because I'm really curious about that as well. I spoil myself. I value myself at $250 an hour. I don't know what I'm worth, but that's my get off the couch rate from when I was a photographer. Like, you need to pay me $250 an hour if you want me off the couch on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Cool. So the numbers that we just talked about, I don't know where how many tokens you bought off the top of my head, et cetera, but just some quick numbers for people to wrap their heads around. So AI tokens on the cheapest side through Pictor are 7 cents a pop. On the most expensive side, they're 20 cents a pop. So depending on how many you buy, we have discounted pricing. The premium license comes out to about $149 a month. Whoops. And the total platform cost, based on what we saw here with some overage for some test shots and stuff, we're looking at around $161 on the low end, or if you use the high res at the high cost, $215 total. Revenue, I know you charged over $2,500 for this, but at $2,500, your ROI on this would have been about 22 and change. Is that about the numbers, or those? Did I do that math correctly?
Yeah,
It doesn't include your time, but
yeah, if you took my time out and then reruns and then the practice setup and everything, it's probably close. It was right around 2K at the
cool.
end of the day. You know what I mean? Which is
Amazing.
great.
Great payday.
Make
Yeah.
2K and not leave the house. So
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. And then we talked about these two different tiers. Did you charge differently for the different items, or did you charge extra for creating a second experience?
No, so I just kept it standard. The Hollywood didn't come in until later, but basically I just changed their attire and put a new background in.
Gotcha.
So it was more just to keep it simple and keep it moving.
Totally.
I probably should have charged more for the second prompt, but
well, sometimes, and this is something that I get into with my team, it's like production's like, hey, you need to email them and say it's an extra $50. And I look at our line items and I look at what we've done before. And we do email them and say, this isn't what we normally charge for this. It's on the house, right? So, I hate nickeling and diming. And if something genuinely doesn't cost us more, and also with these AI prompts, my guess is you can reuse these again with some slight modifications too, and charge someone again for the customizations.
yes, exactly. Yep.
So having this one, I could see this selling probably before this one, right? With the paparazzi.
Yeah, actually, I have a red carpet. It's for a construction event where they build big things out of canned food.
Naturally.
And they wanted a red carpet photo, so I'm gonna try to roll some of these aspects in and
Gotcha. So like you're already
with.
halfway there on that. You make your way back. Cool. We talked about how long it took the prompt, but for setting up the virtual experience in Pictor, how long would you say that took you?
Well, this I didn't have to do every aspect, but I did just do a full build out here. It took about an hour.
Cool.
For an event. Yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable navigating it now. Do you know what I mean? And getting everything ready and all the assets ready. So
yep. One of the really cool things that we have been working on sort of in the back end on Pictor, and it may have been obvious to some of you folks, in every single stage on our flow stage, you see a little save and an open. You're able to, what that means, like, for example, use terms of service. If you have your terms of service that are going to be standard for every event, you can save that flow stage and open it in a new event. So you don't have to recreate it each time. Same with media screens, overlays, things like that. The thing that we released last week, and we'll probably talk about it in a webinar next week, is global text. And so what that means is if you have an event with 10 templates, you can have one text field that changes on every single template. So you don't have to go into all 10 templates. And these are all the things that we're starting to build, or continuing to build, I should say, to make the life of a photo booth company easier. So when you have a templated wedding, so you could have, for example, 6 caricatures that brides and grooms can choose from. And now instead of recreating the entire event for them, you go into one place, use the exact same event, duplicate it, and change their names and the date, and it's going to change it everywhere in your event. And so I'm really excited about that feature. So we'll get into that in another show and tell. So we talked about a lot of this already, the production. And so the production workflow was sort of the brand framework you locked in. You got the collection for the virtual booth. You customized that AI prompt and got sign off. You personalized each of them. You did your quality review and you handed off to the client. Correct?
Yep. Yep. Pretty spot on there.
So we talked about this already. You didn't actually do the printing in this case. The client did. And when the client first saw the finished portraits and the Hollywood Glam editions, what were their reactions?
Her email back, she loved them. Everything looked great. I think there was There were two that they looked pretty realistic instead of um like the marker look.
Yeah.
In which case she provided me with new photos, and as soon as I ran them, no problem. So it
Cool.
was some kind of glare on the photo that it just was trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
So,
And
but yeah, very, very happy.
that's
So,
something that we say for our in-person events too, is like AI, we're the first to admit it. 1 out of 100 is going to be wacky.
yeah,
The
yes,
beauty of it is you can just do another, take another photo.
yep.
And do you have any feedback from what the event guests felt about them?
No, I didn't. And I did reach out to her and to see, but I have not heard back yet. Because I would like to know, even if they had any photos of when people check it, finally opened it, I'd love to see reaction.
Yeah, and
So,
just I know this because you and I talked already, but they were given to the guests in a packet of other materials. Is that correct?
yeah, I
So,
think if they had an award, there was maybe something for the award in there, some other kind of year-end things they give out and stuff like that. So
cool. And what did this project mean for your business? And is it changing how you're approaching other corporate clients?
yes. So um leaning into that virtual side, right? Not everybody's got a massive budget right now for a physical install and an employee on site and all of these wrapping a booth with their brand. But that virtual booth QR branded out and they can still get AI output is very usable for a lot of events. It can be printed on posters, it can be put on a screen.
Mhm.
So it gave me a lot more confidence to offer that to clients and say, "Hey, look what we could do. We don't even need to be there." You know what I mean? So
And have you found other clients to be excited about it?
yes, I just actually met with a local distillery about a virtual on Monday. So they're supposed to send me their brand kit this week and everything. And they do a lot of pop-ups. So what we would do is change theme every 2 months to fit
Gotcha.
what they're doing. Yeah.
Very
Yep.
cool. Very cool.
Yep.
And this may be a good time to throw to it. You mentioned a distillery. I hear through the grapevine you're doing something very cool for a winery using
Oh,
Pictor.
yes. Yep. So this weekend we are doing custom wine labels at a wine and music festival locally. Um, just trying to think outside the box of what you can use the photo booth for. They obviously sync up to pretty much any printer.
Yeah.
And so I have a label printer and we're going to make them right on site as the clients buy a bottle, put it on. It has a Caribbean background because it's a Caribbean music festival.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully they love it.
And
So,
so just quickly on that, is it's an AI output and is there customization with the people's names on it too?
so no, we didn't do names on this one because they're the 375 milliliter bottles. So they're the
Okay,
small.
got
So it
it.
was getting tight because originally that's what I wanted to do, but it looked a little crowded.
Gotcha.
So, yep,
Cool. Very, very neat.
yep.
Um, Working through this, good, bad, and ugly, we'd like to make the product better, so please don't hesitate to be honest, constructively honest. What were some big surprises with Pictor, either positive or negative? Are there things you wish it could have done? Are there things you were blown away that it could do?
I don't think there was necessarily any negatives on this one. I think just with AI, there's always little quirks, right? Like something
Yeah.
comes out and you're like, that's not anything like what's been coming out the last 30 pictures, right? So just you just have to deal with those things and get used to it. I love that it's all like I was able to do it all in one process. Like I said, the layering, putting the text, doing multiple tokens on top of each other in different colors is awesome. Um, so it just has a lot of flexibility for AI, and even if you're just going to do regular output, and you can that layering of building your photo templates is just nice to have.
A hun-
So
I
yeah,
100% agree with you. And one thing that I think, and sort of how this conversation started, is you did something that we do as a photo booth company too. You had an awesome event, you pitched it, it worked out. It was something that it had never occurred to you necessarily. Like virtual booths for us during the pandemic, I thought were the dumbest idea ever. But we had clients who just kept saying, could you do this virtually instead of canceling? And I was like, okay, well, enough of you are asking for it. And we built $1 million business off of virtual booths for 2 years. So what I love about what you did here is you had this event come to you that was out of the box. You built out the offer, you figured out how to make it work for you. You made your client very, very happy, and you turned it into sales material for yourself.
right,
So
right.
which is great. So you got literally paid to make marketing materials for your own company. And that's
Yes.
something that each of you should be thinking about. Last question, and then we'll open up to the full audience is just like having done this start to finish, would you use Pictor for this again? It's my phone ringing, not
Okay.
1 second over here. To being live on a Zoom call and getting a phone call in. So having done this with Pictor one time, would you do it again? What would you consider going forward with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would do it again. The virtual booth is pretty easy to put together. You know what I mean? It's not a difficult task. You can customize almost every aspect of it for the brand that you're working with. And if you're not sure, just sign up and play with it a little bit. It can be a little overwhelming because there are a lot of features, but it's like any other software. Once you start navigating it, you get comfortable with where you change something and what you can change and stuff. So, but
Yeah,
no, I love it. So,
one of the biggest paradigm shifts for folks is like things don't have to happen in the same order that they would in another piece of software. You can do things in any order you want, and really almost everything is customizable. So out of the box, you can like use a preset. It takes 15 seconds to launch it, and it's good to go. But there's so much to customize in there that it can really take some time to get used to those different things. So we have our support materials are getting better and better. Our support channel is getting better and better. So please, as you're trying to do something, reach out. If we don't have a way to do it already, we'll figure out a workaround or something else for that. So great. So I would love to open it up to questions. So this is, I asked y'all to turn your cameras off, but now is a time for you to all turn them on, turn on your microphones if you'd like, and let's chat through. I did manually turn off some of your cameras before, so if you're having trouble turning it back on, drop a little note in the chat and we'll turn it on for you. And do we have any questions? I know we have some folks who typically do have questions. We got Louie, we got Kayla, we got Rick. Does anyone have any questions about this?
Louis had dropped a question in the chat that
Cool.
said, I know companies can get very picky about protecting their branding logos. Did I have any issues with AI generating the branding incorrectly? So my workaround was using a reference image for the background. However, if you have a reference image of their logo or an icon, if you need to specify to the AI to make an exact replica of it and do not change anything. And then AI is pretty good at spitting that out exactly how it is going to be. If you're concerned with that, my recommendation would be to just put it as a layer in the template builder when you're building it. And that would just have to be the same every image, then it wouldn't change.
Yep, I agree with you. And something that we ran into recently, so AI, it's trained on the internet. And if you have a corporate brand that has a lot of stuff on the internet already, whether it be a logo, etc., we were doing a project with a client that was releasing a new logo. And by referencing the company's name, it was pulling their old logo, which was causing issues for us, Louis. So what we actually had to do was not refer to the company by name, but we just referred to it as logo, and we had the reference image uploaded. So that could work in both directions. If it's a logo that people know well, a McDonald's logo, a Coca-Cola logo, you may not even need a reference image to do that. We've created Gatorade bottles with no reference images. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Any other questions? Gerald, will there be a replay of this? Was loving learning from Adam, but got a sales call. Well, we're glad to hear you got a sales call. Congratulations. We hope it went well. We'll have you on another call to tell us about that. Yes, we are going to post this on the Pictor Show and Tell channel. For those of you who don't have it posted in the Facebook group and on YouTube ASAP. We always like to try and get it up immediately, but editing can take longer than expected.
That's awesome. I've been looking forward ever since I seen it because I wanted to see what Adam was doing that, and it's been slow all day. And literally during this webinar, it was like 3 phone calls and 2 emails all coming at the same time. It'll be nothing the rest of the day now.
I know the feeling. And so
Yeah.
my joke is that, like, whenever the calendar is slow, I'm like, "Oh, I can finally book a vacation." That's the best way for me to get work on those days. It's like uncanny. I'm like, flight on this day, and they're like, you have work that day. So I know that feeling, Gerald. Well, we hope it was a good opportunity.
I think it might.
Amazing. We're at the 2 o'clock. I have time for another question or two if anyone has, or we can, oh, here comes in Louis. How well does Pictor do with generating AI from a group image? This goes back to generally prompting in general. So it is fully capable of doing a group image, an image of a pet, an image of a truck, but you do need to work on that custom prompt to make sure that it can do it. Something that Adam mentioned is if-then statements. He said randomly choose one of these 2 images or 3 images, but you in your prompt can say, if a single person do X, if a male do X, if a woman do X, if a pet do Y, etc. So that is to say, yes, you should be able to do groups. You will have to work on the prompt yourself. Cool. Any other questions?
Hi,
Adam?
I had a quick question.
Yes, what's your name? Who's speaking?
Oh, my name's Mary Boyd. I'm
Mary.
kind of new to all of this,
Oh,
but
welcome.
thank you so much for sharing this event. My mind's pretty blown. But I was just wondering, while the event was going on, I guess since it wasn't QR codes and you already got all the pictures in advance, but did you have to be pretty much on call or available during the event?
No, so all this was pre-delivered, right? So it was approved by their HR manager, just making sure they were happy with all the output prior to the event. So, but even if you're running a QR event, which we have, I mean, you do need to kind of be available if there's a problem. So you don't want your client to be disappointed because they pay for a service and they're not getting it ultimately. So,
Yep.
Okay,
And
great.
to speak to that, Mary, this particular one was really unique because while the outputs were given out at an event, the creation was not necessarily tied to a specific time block. At OutSnapped, our photo booth company, when we have an event like this, it could run multiple days, weeks, months, right? So we do spot checks. We have event health that we check in on. We always check in with the client proactively, letting them know that we've checked and everything looks good. It's about customer service, right? There are times where there's going to be an upstream issue. Yesterday, for example, Instagram was down, right? That affected millions of people worldwide. And unfortunately, Pictor, for a little bit of time, was one of those folks that also was affected by the same upstream issue, right? And that's something that I think we all need to be more aware of in our contracts in our SLAs for an event like this, especially, or not, sorry, for a virtual event, especially, is that we as providers, if part of the internet goes down, there's just nothing you can do. We at Pictor have backup plans, but the backup plans are not, 150% fail safe. And anyone who tells you that they are is unfortunately no longer telling the truth to you. And we're living in a time now, for those of you who followed all the AI stuff, like Claude is releasing this thing called Mythos, which is an LLM that literally they're not releasing it publicly because it can hack too many things, right? And it's taken down tremendously large companies. So we're going to start seeing more and more of these large scale internet outages. And that's something we really need to think about in our event flows. With Pictor, everything that you are doing on a local device, an iPad, an Android, a computer, is stored locally. And we've invested heavily in our queuing system. So if things were to go offline, everything will go back up. But like any other website, if a large part of the internet is down, you will not be able to load a web page that, Cloudflare can't serve at the moment. So that also comes in with being proactive. As soon as you know something like that, you should alert your clients what's going on. And I think often when clients get upset is when they have to come to you with a problem, as opposed to you reaching out and saying, this is going on, we are on top of it. I will provide you updates as often as possible. So something to keep in mind. Yep. So Rick, you came on camera. Any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious, it brought up a point. I'm curious on how many times you do get contacted during a live event, live virtual event, that is actually something that you have to address.
Adam, do you want
Something
to?
in your control.
Yeah, Adam, do you want to handle or do you want me to?
You probably have a larger scale that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, for our live events, whether that's in person with our hardware or virtually, at this point, almost never have to deal with a real-time problem. And that is because we are now, through our virtual offerings, able to give people access to the photo booth prior to the event. So historically, when I first started in this industry, 15 years ago, you would do all this pre-stuff, you'd show them an overlay, you'd slap together a mock-up, but no one caught the typo until event day, right? Like no one did any of these things. They didn't see what the gallery really looked like. They didn't know what the text message looked like. But now with the virtual experiences, our clients have to go through the experience and sign off on it days before the actual event. So we are limited in those day of surprises.
That's cool.
Similar?
No, I like that. I hadn't even thought about actually sending the virtual event for corporate ones when we're going out. So
Yep.
that'll definitely be on the checklist moving forward. I like that. Yeah. You had to prevent it. But
Rick-
yeah, on site, usually not any major issues at all, So I mean, the virtual booths just run now, they're running back end up to the cloud, so it's fine. So
Yep. Rick, any questions? Or sorry, anything similar on your side? I know you run a similar business.
On my side,
Yeah, does that
yeah, that plays in what I would expect with the virtual booth, because there's not much you can control except for, like you said, making sure that everything's been signed off ahead of time.
Yeah.
Once in a while you probably would get contacted maybe to regen something. I don't know. Because it was that 1 out of 100 that didn't come out right. But yeah, no, I'm just starting to play with the virtual thing right now, and I'm marketing to because of the World Cup thing coming to town. I'm marketing basically the fan zone experience as a virtual type booth to supply out to venues that are having these watch parties. And so I'm trying to build a package together where I provide signage, QR codes, sell them in bundles of X number of, sessions.
Yeah.
And so we're trying that. I've got a couple of them biting that net right now, so hopefully I can expand that.
Amazing, amazing. Cool. Well, keep us posted on that, and perhaps we'll have you on to share the success of that. Neat. So thank you everyone for joining us. I think this was really eye-opening for me. I always love how people are using Pictor. Thank you to Adam for spending time with us today. And this will be available as a replay once we edit it. And for those of you who haven't tried Pictor, please do. We have a free trial that allows you to do almost everything for free other than just run a live event. We have a Facebook group that we're trying to make more active in there, so please do come in and share. And we have support on the website as well. So if you need anything, we're here to help. And what I always like to say, and it's genuinely true, is I can't wait to see what everyone creates with it. So thank you, Adam, for joining us. Thank you, everyone else, for taking time out of your day. And I will see you all next week.
see you guys later. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Never left the house. Got a call from a brand with a big idea. No trophies, no plaques, we want something they'll feel. Every name on the payroll, every face in the room, a portrait they could keep long after the boom.
135 for the crew in the standard frame, 30 Hollywood glam with the title and the name.
5x7 print ready, all dialed in, and
10 short days till the show begins.
Most folks would pack a van and head out on the road, but Adam had another way to handle the load.
No barroom scramble, no hauling a booth,
Just a laptop, Wi-Fi,
and a system that's smooth.
he made 2,500 plus. Never left the house. Logged into Pictor.pro.
Built a booth without a doubt.
One prompt, one platform, 65 in a row. Every single branded caricature flowing from the virtual
Booth flow.
If you're dreaming up a play,
You can run from home,
there's a path like this.
waiting at Pictor.pro.
First he locked their colors, logo typeface too, so every single portrait screen.
Yeah, that's you.
Photos in on one side, art out on the other. Every file on brand, they all look related to each other.
Stand-up portraits for the team, clean and tight. Glam editions for the winners in that Hollywood light. Name at the bottom, award line in gold. A keepsake they'll remember long after they're old.
No fighting with a printer in a hotel hall.
No last-minute panic in a crowded car. Just do repeatable workflow, calm and clear. Turned a tricky little brief into a product it offer this year.
He made 2,500 plus.
Never left the house.
Pictor.pro on the screen.
That's how it all shook out. One prompt, one platform, 116.5 on the go.
From Maryland to anywhere.
The internet can glow.
If you want a new revenue stream that doesn't need a road show,
Spin up your own virtual booth at Pictor.pro.
yeah. And there's two ways to run it when you know the tool. Fully remote from your desk,
That's the stay home rule.
or throw a QR on the screen at the live event
Let the guests scan in
and see where the photo went. Same booth, same backbone,
just a different show.
that's the kind of flexibility operators love to know.
A client walked in with a vision that was crystal clear.
Make them feel appreciated for being here.
From Frederick to the stage, they built that brand.
And every portrait like a handshake in illustrated land.
Deadline hit and the files were all in place.
Print ready,
Spec perfect, no paper chase. Employees saw themselves up there in style.
and the client got a story that
They'll reuse for a while.
that's not just one cool project, that's a sales tool made a proof of concept play. You can roll into your next pitch deck. Parade
Awards, recognition, any corporate show. This is one more arrow in your Pictor-powered bow.
he made
2,500 plus. Never left the house.
thanks to Pictor.pro.
He could chill on the couch. One prompt, one platform, and a tight 10-day window.
Still ship 1/6 to 5 portraits ready for the printer to go.
If you're looking for a sign to try a smarter workflow, take a note from Adam's play and head to Pictor.pro.
165 portrait.
10